What's up, guys? This is Krystle Chats, and this is The Healthy Gossip. And we're in the Comedy Pop-Up Studio, and I have one of my faves, Alex Conn.
What's up?
He's the on-air, on-camera producer today. My co-host. Yes.
On camera.
How have you been, Alex?
I've been good.
Yeah?
Running, burning it at all ends,
We're a comedian good.
Yeah.
To a normal human being, I don't know.
We're thriving with mental illness.
Exactly.
No,
We're
no,
tired.
It's good. Yeah.
Just a little. Our lifestyles are always going to be exhausting.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Better than a boring life in a cubicle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about this one thing that happened to me. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of the issues with what I do about not naming names. So I got called by someone who asked me not to talk about them on the podcast, and because they thought I did, and I lost my mind.
Was it who you were originally talking about?
No, I was not talking about
You're
them.
like, you're so vain.
I know.
You think this podcast is about you, don't you?
Don't. Okay. Yeah, and I lost my mind. I was like,
You're like, just because I brought up a little dick doesn't mean it was your little dick.
you know what I'm saying? So
Well, you got to make it about your little dick always.
because I went batshit crazy, I'm gonna I'm back. I'm trying to back to basics, man. I'm trying to just keep this podcast to its original roots because so somebody had listened to my podcast lately. I'm assuming I would hope they didn't go from beginning to end, but if you did, thank you. And they're like, wow, your dad, that it's changed a lot. And I was like, well, I changed a lot, and it's supposed to. Obviously, it's a work in progress. But yeah, now let's just, all I have to say is that person, I was not talking about them, and it made me really upset because I was trying so hard to not talk about them. So guess what? Now I'm talking about you.
Yeah, it's about you.
You see what you did? Okay, I just had to get that off of my chest. And today, first of all, I'd like to apologize because I don't know exactly when at this point, I'm assuming I'm going to release 27 before I release 28. It's going to be late, but I've been going through some things emotionally, and I haven't had the time to even just sit down and collect my thoughts about. Really, it's like the summary and like what I say in the summary, and then just putting it out. But it'll be out hopefully Hopefully you guys have heard it before you heard this episode, or you know what? It might be just back to back.
Maybe.
It might just be back to back. It might be both released on Monday. But we'll see what happens. This is why podcasts are fun. You get to just live in the moment sometimes. So I wanted to start off on like a corny little venture down like lover's lane and talk about our first loves, because I feel that that's kind of where it all begins, it's how we figure out.
It lays a big foundation, whether it's a good one or not.
Kind of like the way our parents' relationships do that for us. I think our first love, that definitely.
Especially probably like the first partner, like the first girlfriend or boyfriend you have that you regularly have sex with, and
absolutely,
just like those younger, when you're learning about yourself and you're learning about other people.
Right.
Yeah.
So was your first love a good story or a bad story?
Oh, I don't know. So what's funny is if what I thought was my first love, I later realized was my first lust.
Okay.
And I have so when I had a high school girlfriend for a couple of years, and she just, she was about the old life, she liked to hang out late and in
high school.
Yeah, she liked to do some drugs, and she liked to
Vegas?
cheat. Yeah. Her I don't need to talk much about her. She went on to be actually kind of. She's kind of like a madam now. She runs like a kind of an escort, like you can hire her to bring chicks to your parties kind of thing. And it's implied that they'll fuck you if the price is right, but it's also like it's kind of like,
wow.
It's kind of like Hollywood shit, like you see in TV, like girls that get hired to go hang out and, and just kind of be available. So I'd found out after we broke up that like in high school she was like sleeping, or like I'd kind of heard rumblings around the end of senior year. People were like, hey, so-and-so fucked your girlfriend. And I'm like, nah, that's a different girl by the also name of Destiny, like a very, we don't name names, but no, just like she had a very like unique name. And I was like, no, I think you're talking about the one on the soccer team. I don't think you're talking about my, and it was just one of those where, like
it wasn't my first love high school boyfriend, but I had a guy who I was dating who I threw a big party, and the next day, that Monday, people came up to me and they were like, and I was convinced this guy was obsessed with me, and they're like, you
sounds about right.
Well,
you're always convinced that they're no, I'm just
no, I am convinced. I was, and then they were like, did you hear about the guy,
your boyfriend?
My boyfriend? And I was like, what? And they're like, he slept with somebody at your party.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like,
Isn't
no
it?
way. I was like, wow. So not only did he cheat on me, but he cheated on me while I was there.
This feels like an open mic though, kind of, huh? Like high school, high school parties.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then later on, I realized that like, I just think I think that was like just more of a like a sexual thing. And then after her, I dated a girl that like I really liked, and it went kind of weird. It was a weird one, but. Like I think that was more a first love kind of thing, like just, maybe a first like kind of healthy, like a healthy partnership, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I probably fucked that up too. I feel like relationships are kind of like businesses. Like you're gonna fail the first couple, and if you don't, they're built really shakily.
Right.
But it's yeah.
So that girl, the one that you think was like the almost healthy one, that where you guys were. How old were you?
I was 19, 18 and a half. It was just out of high school, like going into college, yeah.
Did you finish college?
No.
Okay.
College dropout.
Yeah, me too, several times.
Shout out to community college for letting me hang out there, one class a semester for a few years, and then
right. Exactly.
I dwindled out.
Did you learn anything in college?
Not a thing. You know what I did? So I guess that's a little bit bullshit. Like I had some really cool. I did cool things. Like I was in a cool program my freshman year, and then I went from university to college after, just because the debt didn't make sense, because I kind of knew I was gonna drop out.
Right.
And then I just like kind of weaned off. My mom was the first person in our family to go to college, and she has like a master's degree plus 32, so almost like 2 master's degrees.
Wait, plus 32.
Plus 32 more credits. Like,
wow.
Like she got a master's degree and then went back to school. She's practically like a double master, but it would be like not reapplied to like,
okay.
It's like the credits would reapply to the shit she already got, so it doesn't really count. But I don't know how college works. I'm talking out of my ass right now. But so for her, I went very part-time, just because, you don't want your parents to, you want them to see the disappointment coming. You don't want to just be like, yeah, I'm a loser now. You want to be like, hey, I'm gonna
slowly.
By the time I quit, you're going to be like, well, we already made peace with this. So,
right.
Yeah.
And
where'd you drop out? What school?
But the last one.
Were you in Texas? Or
well, I finished the semester. I just didn't go back. Irvine Valley College in Irvine. Shout out to all my little buddies out there.
Fuck yeah.
And it was fun. I loved it. I obviously eventually wanted to try to go back here, just even if it's a class at a time, because I genuinely enjoy psychology. And that's why I asked if you learn anything, because that's the thing that kept me reapplying, is I thought, well, if there is anything that by the time I get through the pain of college that I would actually like to do, because my other favorite job I've ever had was tarot card reading, which is you're basically a therapist without the degree.
Yeah.
So that's why I kept going back, and but now I'm like I'm just, and I
you
also
should do that again.
What?
Tarot.
Yeah. I want to.
You should do like a get high in tarot kind of thing.
Well, see, that's actually my rule with tarot cards, is I like to be sober, completely sober.
Well, you should maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking content. I'm just thinking of cool shit to do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I've definitely tried. It's not. Yeah, I've tried joking a little bit about it, but then then it feels almost like blasphemous, because it's not. It's like a religion. It really is.
So what about your first love?
Well, mine was in high school as well. I fell in love with my first love when I was actually in the 8th grade. Because
how old was he? Also 8th grade?
2 years older. But we rode the same bus.
Okay. Where'd you go to school?
I was in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he sat next to me on the bus, and then they dropped us off, and then the junior high kids, and then they dropped off the high school kids, and then that's kind of like when it's like, oh my god, a high school boy, and
he like nods at you, and his hair falls in his eyes, and you're like,
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I had a crush on him basically for 2 years. I was obsessed with him, and he didn't really give me the time of the day. And it was one of those situations where I moved away to go to school and live with my dad for like
is this high school still?
At ninth grade, a semester. And then I think when I came back, my cousins, I can say their names, shout out to Shauna and Vanessa, they kind of like taught me how to, own that I was taller than most girls and wear heels anyways and do my makeup.
Just like, do you?
Be confident and fuck everyone else. And it was kind of like a movie. Like when I came back, I felt like I had just like gone through puberty and it looked good. And then
you came back the hot chick. Like, oh,
yeah, basically.
Remember Krystle? Remember gangly Krystle?
Exactly. Remember Blunt Bang Krystle with the bad hair? Jackie Chan.
You had a Jackie Chan haircut?
Because I think it was when I was like trying to grow my bangs out. It was almost like these like long, ugly like side bangs that stopped like right here, and then the short hair. Like it was a Jackie Chan haircut. And then me with no eyeliner, I am basically Jackie Chan.
Have you ever seen pictures of my hair in high school? Have I ever showed you?
No.
I had hair like down to my lower back.
No way.
Yeah.
You were that guy?
Yeah, I played in like death metal bands and shit.
Yeah.
Very short stints. Yeah.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, it was all right.
Wait, guitar.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. And have I ever told my virginity story on here?
I don't think so.
All right.
Did you finish the other one about you came back the hot chick? So what happened?
Well, yeah, this is how it happened.
Oh, this is the virginity story.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna tell it again if I have. Here we go. Let's repeat it. So I came back and then he started like paying attention to me.
So was this 10th grade?
Yeah, this was
Okay.
now I'm in 10th grade.
Okay.
And so we basically started hanging out a little bit. And one time we had only been seeing each other for a few weeks at this point. And then he picked me up from my girlfriend's house. So we went back to his place.
What did he drive? Did he have like a cool kid car?
He did actually. He didn't pick me up in that car that day. I remember that very specifically. I think
it's like, no, I'm gonna let her see the beater first.
Yeah, but he definitely did drive a black 5.0 Mustang.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like a 92.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, Fox bodies are cool now. Yeah.
Right. So then we went back to his parents' house, and then I remember we were like about to do it, and I had like that single tear that like fell down my face, and he's like, "We don't have to do this," and I was like, "Just do it." So that's how I lost my virginity. But then
Sounds like you guys committed a murder together.
Right.
Just stick it in there. Just
and turn it.
I was trying to make a knife. I was kind of going for knife imagery, but I was thinking knife and I didn't say it, so then it just sounded like I was walking people through you losing your virginity. Sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
And then so I remember, I think it was that night after he dropped me off, I called him and I broke up with him.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore.
Krystle chats from day one.
Yeah, well, exactly. And he was like, huh? And I go, well, I know that's all
like,
you.
Almost senior. What do you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, I said, I know that's all you wanted, and that's all I wanted too. Because for 2 years, I knew I was like, I have to lose my virginity to him, because I fell in love with him so young. And then he ends up calling me back, like I don't think it was the very next day, but it was definitely a couple days later. He called me back, and he's like, hey, no, I really wanted to be with you. And we dated after that point, and I just, to make it very, like, I guess, I don't know if I want to make this could either be the rest of the hour or this could be a 10-minute, like 5-minute spot. But what do you think? Let's just talk. So basically, things got a little crazy because, when you're that young and, you like someone for that long, and that's your adolescence. And I think a lot of people can agree, like, when junior high people are like the worst people on the planet. They're mean. They don't have anything to lose.
This is preteens, by the way, all of them.
Yeah, like 12, 13, 14 years old are the worst people. They literally don't know that the world is going to come and choke slam all of them. So
It's reckless.
right. So then so me going through those hard times, those hard years, I was madly in love with someone for whatever like a 14-year-old can
I think that's like a very common thing though, like a like a running desire.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So by the time he tried to give me a chance, I was just so checked out of it. I was like, there's no way. Like, I cried so many tears. I've begged. I've prayed. And then now you're here. So I was actually pretty mean to him quite a bit. Like,
I believe that actually.
yeah. I got mean because I'm just like, oh, shut up. Like, you don't even like me anyways. The whole thing was just like, this is going to end.
But that's just what it was for you.
Right.
Do you feel like you're projecting on him, or do you feel like you're correctly projecting on him?
Both. We were both toxic for each other at that point.
That's cool.
You know. And so it was like third to last day of school of like 10th grade, and we got in a big fight. No, we were not even really supposed to be seeing each other because of a bunch of drama that had went down. We were just not supposed to be seeing each other. And he was like calling my phone, and I was saying, leave me alone. And then he was like kind of waiting, I think, by my car when I left school that day. And I remember I had a couple of my friends with me. So he literally followed me to drop them off. And then he followed me home. And I remember just yelling at him. I was like, you're not supposed to be here. Like, get away from me. Bless you. There's a big sneeze.
SARS came out of that fucking mouth.
So that whenever he came up, I think he walked up to my car, and I was already inside, and I drove one of those Corollas that didn't have automatic locks, and I left my cell phone in my car, and then I remember he got my cell phone out of my car. So I called the cops on him, and he tried running from the cops, and he got in a car accident.
In the Mustang?
This time he was in the Mustang.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he passed away.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
From the car accident?
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard this story before.
Yeah. I was.
Well, that escalated quickly.
That's what I said. I was like, this is either going to be a 5 to 10 minute
So, how has that shaped who you are?
It's everything.
It's everything.
Well, because so sometimes people, and I'm crying already. Sometimes, and I'm not just crying about this. Alex and I were crying before we started rolling.
We were talking.
Yeah.
I wasn't crying before we started. I've been bawling since
he was bored.
Yeah, I'm a crybaby. So,
well, because sometimes when I'm dating people now, they're like, oh, why is it so easy for you to walk away? And it's just since, remember, even up until that point,
you're like car crashes. That's why it's so
exactly. From 8th grade. Oh, I have mentioned this on the podcast,
okay.
But you weren't here.
I probably Yeah,
I remember now.
I'm not always here, guys. I got to get filled in.
Shout out to Brandon Bryan. I said this. I talked about this with Brandon Bryan on the podcast. So yeah, I remember.
God, how do your memory for a your memory is solid.
It's selective sometimes. Sometimes it's also trash. I don't remember names.
I have a friend one of my best friends, my first roommate ever, a couple of years ago. He went through a situation where he had broken up with a girl, and they'd been together for a long time. And I think they would have gotten back together for sure. I think they probably would have had a 6-week trajectory to kind of figuring it out, and a week and a half after they broke up, she died in a car accident.
Oof.
And it's been and it's one of those things where it's definitely going to shape everything.
Was she driving?
She was driving. Okay. I don't know. I don't think she was at fault.
Okay.
But it's just it will shape who you are. It will
right.
And that was I have this weird thing I do for a lot of people, and it started with him because I just had this feeling where I was like, oh man, that's such a conflicting thing, right? And And I told him, and I've started doing this since. I tell people this a lot. Like, if you're feeling something you think you shouldn't be feeling, you can tell me. Like, whenever people go through shit, I'm like, I know you got plenty of people to talk to. If there's shit that you feel you'll get judged for, like, if you feel a way that you feel isn't cool, let me know. Because, like, I can understand. I'm very good at understanding, like, the other point of view. And I just, like, I know that people always get advice like, hey, when you're dying inside, let me know and I'll help you. And I'm more like, hey, if you were like over this shit, like, I don't know what happened and I don't know why you guys broke up. Like, if you don't give a fuck, like, you can let, like, whatever feelings you feel ashamed of, you can put on me too, kind of thing. And I do that for a lot of my friends. I'm like, if you don't feel like, if it's something you don't feel comfortable telling other people, I'm not going to judge you for it. Because I feel weird. I feel weird feelings from time to time, you know, like, where you're like, shouldn't feel this way, but I feel this way, you know, so.
Absolutely. And because I had already started drinking, like, probably like in the ninth grade. It was so sad that over him, you know, and I would cry because, like, you know, he didn't like me. So you can only imagine, like, how
drank
bad.
A lot?
Oh yeah, after he died, I probably in high school, like, at least every weekend, you know, through the rest of high school.
For like 10th, 11th, 12th?
For like 11th and 12th grade.
Every weekend?
Always like either smoking weed or drinking.
I don't think that's even necessarily wrong. I mean,
right.
I feel like that's
I know a lot of high school people do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I was going harder.
Not that I would recommend it. But,
absolutely not. I'm totally anti that. And that's exactly, if I ever have kids, I'm going to tell them.
Actually, yeah, I do. I don't really.
I'm going to tell my kids, just wait until your brains develop, bro.
I'm going to tell my kids, if you want to smoke weed, you have to do it. You have to, like, you got to take dabs and play an instrument. Like, you just have to learn an instrument when you're getting high. I think back to, like, all the guitar I played when I was a kid, and I was like, man, if somebody would have got me high as a kid, I would have gotten so much better.
Right?
But, yeah, so.
Yeah, and honestly,
I don't condone it, but I kind of condone it.
No, yeah, and absolutely. Like, that was, I remember after that happened, I tried dating someone like a dumbass like the next year, and shout out to that guy because that guy still checks up on me until this day. And I remember getting wasted and, like, crying to him about, you know, my ex, and it was just, it was so painful.
It's so sad when you're in like and you know what, I think that's kind of a part of being a kid is this happens a lot and you don't really understand it, but like the process of just like when I was a kid, like if a girl would have been crying to me about her ex, I just my thought would have been like, fucking friend zoned.
Right.
But I think you don't, you know, like I think that's a very like, you know, that's a very valid friendship at this point in my life where I'm like, yeah, I could definitely be friends with people, and you know, and I can be friends enough with someone to be vulnerable with them and not be, you know, like, but that's what my thought. I imagine just like me in high school, some girls like starts crying to me about her ex. I'm like, fuck. So shout out to that guy.
Right. Super sweet guy. And I remember another guy I tried dating. Oh, I could not believe this. He was a theater kid, this poor guy, and he liked me so much. And I broke up with him like the day before they had a huge performance. It was like a competitive, like, and because I was drunk. And I broke up with him, and I remember the whole theater department was just like, how could you?
Like, we better recast him as the crying girl.
Right? Like, the day before. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know what I did. Because I was drunk, you know? I did it because I was drunk. So that's definitely a sad part of that.
Your first love-ins.
Right. And I don't even think I ever really got... I tried getting therapy later on. My parents, they never really put me in therapy for that, which is
I believe that. I mean, it was Texas 20 years ago, 10 years.
Right. They wanted me in therapy more for like me being mean to them. Like it was never like, wow, like this poor girl.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, parenting's very different now. I wouldn't hold that against them. That's
No. They try hard. They still try hard.
Because I'm going to be honest, I'll tell my kids to suck it up too. You know,
right?
Like, all right, shit's gonna happen. You're gonna have to roll with the punches. You know,
exactly.
And you don't know. I mean, that's pretty intense. You never know how something will. I mean, I don't know. I find value in therapy extremely, and I think kids probably should. But at the same time,
It really, and it just depends on the person, because there are people who will go through a lot less.
I feel like the first time something like that happens, a good parent can help shape a healthy way to deal with trauma, and then in the future you kind of should have to less. You know what I mean? But if it's never been if no one's ever taught you how to process and grieve, then
The weed. I smell weed.
Is that your weed?
No, I have some in my
weed?
purse, but there's somebody smoking without us.
Dude.
And we're not high right now.
They're going to get scolded by the lady that just sneezed in there.
Exactly. What was I saying? No, definitely. And there's people who will go through way more than what I went through and still crush at life, and it's just people are people.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. And for me, I think I did pretty well, luckily I didn't get into any hard drugs, although I can argue that alcohol is an extremely hard drug. I'm glad to know now that pot isn't as hard as everybody used to make it back in the day. So that also makes me feel, because, there were girls in my high school who were doing heroin. And luckily I'm proud until this day I've never tried that. I've never even tried an oxy or anything. So I think the worst, even back then, I think the worst thing I ever did was take a Xanax and fall asleep in a restaurant or something.
Crazy. I've never taken a pill.
Okay.
And I've never snorted a snort.
No blow.
No blow.
Ever.
Never. I'm from Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah. You know what's funny is it just
wow.
I had a very militantly anti-drug upbringing.
Okay.
I had to have it was a moment to get me smoking pot,
I didn't try it until I moved here.
Weed?
No.
Coke?
Yeah.
Moved to Los Angeles or Orange County? Does that count? Do you count Orange County as here?
Yes, but LA. I moved to LA because I did get offered it, I think, but I was also very afraid of it.
Yeah, I think that was kind of, which is good. You probably should fear it until you get older, and then you're like, oh, okay, you're like I get it.
Yeah, and now I tried it. I hate it.
Now I'm like, yeah, I fucking coffee. What's up, dude?
I've definitely tried it a few times, and 90% of the times are bad experiences. One time I tried it and I started doing this weird breathing thing where I would breathe like this. I'd breathe in, I'd go, and then I felt like my breath wasn't inhaling all the way, so I'd go. I was doing this weird double breathing, and my friends were like, "Are you okay? Oh no, is this happening? Is this what we're gonna have to call the cops?" Yeah, that was my weird thing, and I've always had this. It's a recurring thing. Every once in a while, ever since I was a little girl, I've always kind of had a short of, not asthma, but just where I felt like I wasn't. Right now I'm breathing fine. But there was also always a time where I would breathe in and I wouldn't feel like it was a full breath. And so that came out.
I think a lot of people don't, a lot of kids I don't think know how to breathe. How to breathe into your stomach and how to breathe all the way down. And
right.
Sure.
That or bad posture, or just at that point I probably wasn't working out much, and there's so many different things that go into that. And then also...
when did you get into fitness? How old were you?
Well, I was raised an athlete, which is also part of the reason why... Luckily, 9th and 10th grade, although I started drinking, I did not smoke weed often until the 11th grade because of track.
Track?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and basketball, but I was a really, really shitty basketball player, but I was actually pretty great at track.
All right.
Yeah, I could have been a lot better than I was, and even for not being that great, I was still pretty good.
Decent.
Yeah.
For drinking every weekend, you were doing all right?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
high school athletics are the old days of Major League Baseball.
Right.
They're getting high and playing and shit.
Exactly.
That's a good time.
No, and one time doing coke, you do the jaw shit if it's lay strong, and then you're there clenching your teeth, trying not to move your fucking jaw.
I used to work with a guy who gets so fucking coked out. He you couldn't understand shit he would say, and it would I don't know,
because he was no,
it just his jaw didn't work.
Oh no.
It was, yeah.
I had a hairdresser once that he was sober, but he still had
a lot of
this thing,
twitch, yeah.
And I actually dated someone too who was sober, and he still kind of had a little bit of that, like you could just see it moving, and I was like, oh, that's so sad, and it freaked me out because every time I think it happened the very last time I did it, which was enough for me to be like, this is stupid. I hate it, and literally it's just to sober up. Yeah. That's the only I get why some people are addicted to it, sure, maybe. Or maybe I've just never tried the right stuff, but luckily, knock on wood, for having an addictive personality, it was never my thing.
Yeah.
So, and then I remember moving to LA 10 years ago and then like being in acting class, and we had to do this exercise where it's like tell a story. So I remember I told that story of like my ex passing away, and I remember
like that monologue was fantastic, and you're like, no, it fucking happened.
Right. Well, the thing is what you learn in acting class too is like after enough time passes by, you don't tell it dramatically. You tell it. It's very similar to how I told it now. You know? And even I've told that story several times and have not cried before. I remember as an acting exercise, they wanted me to go to the dark side. And I thought that was interesting because I hadn't really, like I said, I don't even think I've healed from it at that point because it was still, something that I just kept burying inside and I put it aside.
And that's how a stand-up comedian is born.
Absolutely.
They're like, why don't you dig around? Why don't you really explore the feelings?
Exactly.
Why don't you explore that trauma a little bit and make it art?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so yeah, that happened, and I still like maybe. Well, obviously I'm single, so I still haven't quite haven't you and I haven't mastered. Well, you're in a relationship, of course, but we haven't mastered what it is to, what everyone is trying to figure out with that whole love thing, which is why I wanted this whole episode to be about love and how it ruins us and it builds us up and everything.
You could tell Krystle something the day before she lost her virginity. What do you tell her?
Good job.
All right.
You know what you're doing. Because I don't regret it at all.
The day after. Good job.
The day after, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm very proud of that story because although now I know, with hindsight being 2020, that he was just as lost as I was.
Yeah.
That he was just as confused and damaged, and we both had probably family situations where it was like,
yeah.
Because I remember the whole time, like I always tell people that my parents love me so much until this day. I love them both so much, and I don't have daddy issues, maybe a little bit of mommy issues, but their love for each other, I didn't realize was so important to me. Like it's your love that you share in a household, even if it's self-love. Like if you're a single mom, the best you can do for your child is, and I don't even have a child, so you can bash me all you want for saying this, but I would imagine it's loving yourself. Because I know a lot of men who are raised by single moms like that seem to be like killing it. They were like, man, I was raised by a strong single woman, and I'm sure rather than like, going out and bringing home a different dude every night, they're working hard, or they're exercising, or they're trying to work hard for their family. One of my best friends growing up, her mom, I don't think she dated a single guy. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but I'm saying I know.
You just didn't know about it.
Right. And I know I would be like that. If I was a single mom, I feel bad for those, girls, those kids that have to see their mom just bring home all these different men. So the point is, that's a weird tangent to go on, but it's like, so having two parents for the short time I did, it was actually detrimental to my situation because it was so toxic, and now. But I'm very lucky that they loved me though as much as they did, and still do. I love them. Second love, or last love. Me first.
Yeah, last or.
Well, not.
For you, it's your last.
Well, second. I'll call it second. My second one is this kid who. It's funny because I was dating someone that I was just going through the motions with, and then I met the guy, and it really shook me to my core because I was like, wow, that's why you can't, half-ass relationships. Because luckily, the person I was dating, it was easy enough for me to like get out of it, but I could imagine like being in a relationship that I hated where I wasn't able to like get out of it and just hating myself, because I know so many people are in relationships like that where they know they shouldn't be in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the coolest things that I've read on Instagram was a message my girlfriend sent me after I posted something about how being in love with someone, how there's so many people that are in love and not together, and so many people that are together and not in love. And she goes, well, I just want to let you know that just because you're in love doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right reason to stay together. And just because you don't love each other anymore doesn't mean it's necessarily the right reason to split. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, thank you for reminding me of that, because I can only imagine being in a relationship, like a 10-year marriage where, yeah, that's what marriage is like, choosing to learn how to fall in love with that person.
I had a realization about last year. Maybe not last year. I had a coworker who was like in a very toxic relationship, and it was like very obvious to everyone. And at one point, one of my buddies was like, "Man, you can't like some people that's what they're looking for. Some people just like that might be exact the situation." The bed he lays in, the bed he made, might be the bed he wants. Some people are gluttons for punishment. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, we have to. Yeah, a lot of times, what your idea of right doesn't even necessarily have to be other people. Like sometimes I'll look at a relationship and think, "Fuck, that's not serving anybody, is it?" And then you realize that for whatever reason, if those people are still together, it's serving them in some way.
My acting coach told us that back in the day, especially on the East Coast, that a woman wanted her husband hitting her was her way to know that he still cared.
It's like Thomas Dale. Do you know who Thomas Dale is? Fucking amazing comedian. He's a gay guy, and he kind of does this. He talks about how he's like he has this vibe of a strong Jersey woman, like an old, and that's kind of his character, and he's great. And he talks about that. He's like, I want a man to hit me, so I know he loves me and shit, and yeah, I know. I mean, that's right. Yeah. I mean, Stockholm syndrome's a real thing too, though. So
absolutely, and is
that what you want?
No. I have a joke that is that verbatim. It goes, I hate it when people say I look like I like bad guys, and I'm like, no, I would never be with a guy that hits me, but I do want to be with a guy that looks like he might hit me.
Oh, all right.
And then I do the little flinch where I'm just like, ooh, as long as he almost, or maybe punch a wall or something, and I'm like, yeah, get mad, just don't touch my face.
Yeah.
So what about yours? Have you had one since? I mean, I know you're currently in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. So your relationship.
No, I like to think of first adult relationship as an adult, not as a child. Honestly, actually, I was single for so long, from 19 to probably 24, 25. I was single pretty much the whole time. Just fuck boying out, doing what I do, but yeah, I mean, I don't, I dated, I guess, but I wasn't in relationships for years, and I don't know, I find value in kind of being single too,
Right, and that, so we can actually bring that right up to present day is after that.
Yeah, finding value in being single is a common theme.
Well, that last guy that I was mentioning, we were both still very since I just got out of something and he got out of something, it was just, and it was a homie hopper situation.
For you or for him?
For me. I had dated
hopping homies.
Right. I dated somebody that he knew, and then him and I both knew, and we didn't care, but then that guy found out.
Oh,
and he got pissed.
Such an ego thing. Mm-hmm. I guess if I dated somebody for a while, I guess I'd be upset, but if you, or if I was in a relationship, but if I just dated somebody, it's fucking.
And yeah, and that's exactly my thing, is that him and I dated.
It's like working in a restaurant. People are going to fuck each other. It's going to happen. Yeah.
And so that made it go south. And then him and I kind of, because he got pissed, we went our separate ways. And then in that point, him and I both knew, because for a long time after that, him and I both stayed in touch. And we kind of knew. And then I was in another relationship and he was in another relationship, and then he got his girlfriend pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So then they, from what I know, are split now, and him and I had went out one time since then. And I think at that point we knew it was just kind of We've been through enough. We've been through the war. It was it was over.
Is there one that got away?
Well,
Does Krystle
I'm
Chats
so
have?
glad you said that. It was so crazy. So episode 3, which again you were not on.
Coming around.
It was Golly, and I asked her that. I asked her that question. Shout out to Golly. I said, "Is there anyone who got away?" And she talked about her love that she had been with for years, and she always just wonders, "What if?" Right? And I'm sure if my first love was still alive, it's that same situation, because with that situation, I would imagine him and I would have eventually been able to have grown up together, and then maybe him and I would have either had a baby and then broke up and then been one of those couples that got back together like 10 years later. Because I've actually seen a few people from my old hometown that have done that.
Yeah.
It would have been that situation. And she asked me that, is there one that got away? And I was talking about when I lived in Vegas for a short time. And there was this guy who, like, I think I really heard.
What was his occupation?
He was a lawyer.
Okay.
And I left.
What part of Vegas did he live in?
Why, do you think you know him?
Huh?
Do you think you know him?
No, I don't know all the lawyers in Vegas. I'm just, I can learn a lot about someone by knowing just.
Well, he's from.
It's Vegas vibes. You know how like when you're from a place and you kind
But
of.
he's not from there.
Well, yeah. Where did he live though?
I don't remember. Oh, yes, I do. Henderson.
Henderson.
Yeah.
Hometown. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Born and raised. Yeah.
He lived in Henderson, but he worked actually a little bit closer to Palace Station.
Oh, he worked down in it, down in the shit.
Why? And that's
what
where
did he do? Bail bonds or no? What do you?
No, traffic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty common down there. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said that on my episode 3, and I was just like, yeah, shout out to B. And wow, somebody's texting me about how they got some new material. Like some people like giving me jokes. Yeah, that's right. Call it hacky all you want, you hating ass bitches out there. Hacky comic, it kills me. Anyways, and I was like, yeah, if you're listening to this, B, because I didn't even realize that I had him blocked. And so I was at work and my Apple Watch, I had him saved as this little urn because he was dead to me. And it popped up on my Apple Watch and he was like, hey, I don't know if you have me blocked or whatever, but I just wanted to check on you and see how you're doing. And when I went to go look at my phone, and I did have him blocked, but for some reason the universe
went through the watch.
It went through the watch.
Dude, fucking Apple Watches.
Right. And then I unblocked him and I was like, hey, yeah, it's so funny. And he said something about my podcast. I was like, wait a minute. He actually heard the shout out.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And then he said he reached out to me after that. But of course, I had him blocked. And I didn't even know it. So, yeah.
That's cool.
That was a really fun story. I was like, wow, he actually listened. And it always surprises me when people, I forget, that's the reason why podcasts are such a big deal. People listen to them. Some people actually listen to podcasts. And thank you to all of my listeners out there, Alex, and I appreciate you.
Okay.
So that was.
I think I've told you this before, but people will come up to me and they'll be like, I like your work on the podcast. And I think they're talking about like Fran Joel. And they'll be like, yeah, you and Krystle. And I'm like, oh.
No, I love it. I love it. And well, then they're going to love this episode.
Yeah.
And so, but he started messaging me and I told him, I was like, yeah, like, we can meet up if, whenever you're in town or whatever. But I think.
Does he still live in Vegas?
No. He moved back to California.
Oh,
yeah. I not even like to date seriously or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a hangout.
Let me ask you for your forgiveness in person. But he's definitely not into it.
I mean, it's also
not even to just say hi, have lunch.
No, he said no. He's like, nah, fuck off. I'm blocking you now.
He didn't say no, but I'm assuming he's either dating someone right now. Or just still thinks I'm such a whack job that it's not even worth the waste of the time, which is completely.
A lot of people, a lot of people when they move to Vegas, they have a wacky couple years. How old were you when you moved to Vegas?
Well, so first of all, when I lived in Vegas, I was sober the first part of it, and I relapsed in Vegas.
Oh, that's a good place to relapse.
But
make up for lost time quick. 24-hour serving, yeah.
But luckily, I got out of there.
Yeah.
I relapsed there, and I was working in an insurance office. So I wasn't. I think that's why a lot of guys were actually kind of drawn to me, since I wasn't an industry girl.
Yeah. How old were you?
28, 29.
When you lived in
29.
Vegas? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just a few years ago. So it was
Yeah.
like right before I moved to Orange County.
Okay, cool.
So as I moved from Vegas back to LA, and then we moved to Orange County, and then now I'm back here. It was very short, very, very short.
How long ago did you leave Vegas? How many years?
It was right before I turned 30.
Okay, I don't know. Do you talk about your age on here?
Well, I don't say my age now, but I mean,
Okay.
I have before.
Okay.
And that's fine.
I don't really. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think you care, but no, I'm just trying to think of what, like, if I was in Vegas at that time. I was just doing math.
Well, I will tell you that if I would have went younger, it would have been bad because I had a lot more energy when I was younger, and I probably would have quickly gotten an industry job and just got stuck there.
Yeah, that happens.
Because I see all the waitresses that are like, in their 40s and 50s, or maybe they just look like they're in their 40s and 50s.
No, a lot of it. You know what's funny is nowadays a lot of girls get jobs as model servers because it's like an independent contractor and they can hold you to model standards. But back in the day when like casinos used to hire people, they would get on like seniority lists. So if you go to some of the older hotels, there's like 80-year-old cocktail, like they get all the good shifts because they're fucking been there since the open,
Wow.
So, but now a lot of clubs, they like specifically, like they hire people in a fashion that they can get rid of you if you get ugly.
I got lucky because I did actually go to one audition for a club, and they asked
Which
me,
club?
I believe this one would have been like, I think it would have been like XS or something,
Okay.
like one of the huge ones. And they
Was it at Wynn?
Yes.
Okay.
And they specifically said, "Would you like to bartend?" Because I wanted to be a waitress, not a bartender. And I remember because I was sober, I said no. And right, and all of my friends were like, "You go back there right now, and you tell them they're like, you're gonna make 6 figures."
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. The amount of money you gave up. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I quit a job on the strip before, so a good one.
But again, because and that was actually my initial like underlying reason. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna go do this, and I'm just gonna save money and I'll get out. And I know myself, if I ever really had that kind of money in my bank account, it's
hard to leave it.
I would stay until they fired me.
In all honesty, you'd stay until it was your only skill and you were no longer the hottest one. That's the thing about Vegas. The next model's coming, and for a while you're cool. You're cool for a while, even once she's And then there comes a point where it's just like, all right, new batch. Sorry, like we're not because they bring you back on a yearly basis, so you have to reapply every year. A lot of them. Oh well, I guess I'm thinking day clubs and nightclub. I don't know exactly, but it's I see it happen a lot where people like that's what they think, and then they get by the time they get canned, they end up just at like PTs.
Oh no,
PTs waitress for life.
Well, I'm definitely
shout out to PTs. I was there last night.
Were you?
Yeah, I was in Vegas yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show, was it better this time?
Yeah, we had a good show this week.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good.
We had Rel Battle headlined, and he had a guy over there taping him for something cool. So
Sick.
It was cool. Yeah, it was a good time.
Okay.
Party.
And so the point of all of this was basically to try to get to the point of me talking about how part of the reason why I've been going through stuff and all teary-eyed and crying and whining, and because in the last episode I had Mr. Malavi on the episode, and we were talking about the frustrations of dating, and how dating is extremely exhausting. And I've been coming to a realization that it's, even though I feel like the bad guy because I'm the one in the relationship trying to say, well, I don't know if commitment is really what I need right now, because it's the whole cliche working on me, to become a better me. And I think a lot of my beliefs in that actually comes from the AA program, because I know a lot of people they're like, oh, like I the old me would look at a relationship like Sean's and be like, this is it, this is perfect, because him and I can grind together, we're gonna do comedy, we're gonna crush our goals, and we're gonna just help each other out. But when really I'm in a dark place enough on my own where I'm like, first of all, let me get out of this dark place, and let me feel good, and let me feel like I'm already crushing it, and I'm already chasing after my goals as an individual, which I feel like I am. So since I have other things that I was like working on within myself, I'm like, well, let's just not rush into this and let's just be best friends. And unfortunately, when sex is involved, it makes the whole dynamic.
Yeah, it's the body chemicals.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel guilty, because
I used to have so I worked for a lot of I'll tell a story if I may. I'm originally from Las Vegas. I worked at the Cosmopolitan for years. And when I worked there, my first day, this guy, John Green, came up to me. And I can mention names. John's great. Okay. John, well, maybe I shouldn't have, but John Green taught me a lot. John Green was like a scumbag extraordinaire. Like he was like a professional fuckboy. Like he was halfway between fuckboy and gigolo. Like he was a gangster.
Is he like Sarah Lawrence and I talked about the pickup artist? He's a pickup artist.
No, he's not even a pickup artist. What he is he kind of would. I mean, he's married now. Things are different now. Maybe things are different. I haven't talked to him forever, but I'll say this. My first day, he comes up to me, and I'm there like nuke industry, like I'm ready to I want to do this. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I wouldn't work as hard as you're working. They're gonna start to expect that from you, and they're not gonna give a fuck. And when you quit, they're gonna yell at you about it." And I was like, "Nah, you're just that guy. You're that guy." Like he's the kind of guy that would not like introduce himself to new people because he's like, "Yeah, make it 6 months," because we had a lot of turnaround, And I would later come to find that he would have relationships with girls where he would pretty much tell them like, "You're not going to be the only one. I have other girls. It's going to like cost you money to date me." He was like a bad bitch. And
wow.
But what's funny is well, from what I hear, big old piece on him, real good at using it. Okay. He was like a hip hop dancer, very smooth talking individual, but he was just very open with people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, a lot of the girls might a lot of people might look at the girls in some of these situations and traditionally think like, "Oh, he's treating her terribly. He's a piece of shit, this, that, and the other." Like there was a girl that keyed as Mercedes and her name was on the title. Like, and a lot of people would look at that situation and would judge it. And this is kind of what we're talking about some
Absolutely.
Some people, their idea of a relationship is different than yours. But so John taught me one thing John taught me, he was like he's like, "I could teach you how to dance." And I was like fucking blocky, like buff white guy, like
love it.
And I was like, "Nah, man, I can't dance." And he's like, "Let me tell you something." And I was like, "Nah, I can never dance. And he goes, "Let me tell you something. Girls don't like guys that can dance. Girls like guys that do dance." Because all the guys that can dance are always like, they know where their weakness is. It's almost like comedy, like where you're honest with yourself. And so like guys that can dance are always self-conscious to dance because they hold themselves to a higher standard. Like they're artists. That's an art. And so he would tell me, he's like, "Girls don't like guys that can dance. Girls like guys that do dance." And that's kind of been like a big like moving forward, like do dance.
That's awesome.
But also, he had these relationships. I'm not high, but I do have a stoner brain. What direction was I coming from?
Basically about how he kept it honest.
Being honest. Yeah, honesty. So he had multiple girls at any given time who had, who it cost them to date him. They were buying him Gucci shoes. I'm not even joking. Like, that's what it was. But the rule was like, when I'm with you, like,
remember Gucci shoes because I have something to add.
Yeah, like, and here's the thing: is it was almost like the girlfriend experience. From like it was the boyfriend experience. He would make girls feel loved. But like, if you fucked around, he was very honest. And a lot of people thought about him as kind of like a scumbag because there was a girl we'd worked with that I think kind of got involved with him, and I just remember from a young age thinking, no, I'm refreshed by his honesty.
Yeah,
because people are doing what he's doing and they're not honest about it, and he's out here like, yeah, I mean, like, you're not gonna be the only one, but
right, and okay,
you're gonna be one of the ones, and I'm gonna treat you like, well, you're gonna feel like the one every time I see you.
And I'm sure that guy will eventually have his kryptonite, who will.
Oh yeah, he's married now. I mean, he's got a girl.
Right.
Yeah.
See, and I think that's what's refreshing about that is I think a lot of guys know that it's gonna take a million girls for me to find the one that I love, but I'm not gonna say no to a million girls.
Yeah.
And I also to go back to high school, remember that I used to always give a lot of my money away to boyfriends. And I think that's what those guys create, a lot of us monsters, you know, getting when we come into like adulthood, that like, you know, I remember one time I barely had enough money to like get enough gas to get to school that day. And then I had this guy like asking me for like $20.
Yeah, that's I think his was a very like, his kind of situation was like, if you could afford him, you were at least working for a good wage. You know what I mean? Like if you could afford to play,
He's a gold digger.
I mean, yeah, but he told them that.
Yeah.
I mean, he honestly did what most
girls in LA do.
Girls in LA. I didn't want to say it.
Secure the bag.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, he did what most he did. Honestly, like, times are hard. Work is weird. I know a lot of girls from where I grew up who fucking sell nudes on Patreon, you know, like shit,
right.
Things are different. So, you know, it's a form of, you know, I didn't want to say girls in LA, but yeah, that's where I was going.
I'm gonna have this.
Thank you. Thanks for being real.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being real. I was trying to.
I'm like, I know what we are.
Yeah. She's like, I'm an LA girl. Don't count me out. But yeah, I mean, everyone. Here's the thing: if we're being honest, to look that good, it's probably like some of these girls you see.
Nails, lashes,
clothes, like to look that good. Some of these girls are dropping 50 to 70 a year on their looks. So if you want to date a girl like that, it's going to cost you at least 50 to 70 grand a year. You're going to, at the bare minimum, not even including servicing meals and car payments, not even on top of that. If you want some of those girls, you're going to have to pay just for the beauty process, just alone, right? I mean, this sounds sexist as fuck, but like that's what's going on. It's definitely going on in this city, you know? It's a full-time job. Some of these girls treat beauty like a full-time job, and they get compensated like it's a full-time job. I guess that's what I'm saying.
So how do you feel about that? Like, if let's say you were single and then you met a girl who had a sugar daddy, like, could you still hang out with her?
Could I date a girl with a sugar daddy?
No, you're not even. Yeah, date or like hang out. You know,
I could side piece for a girl. Like I could. Like I feel like every girl with a sugar daddy is kind of like, you know, they've got probably a passion project in the works. You know, they're getting like. Is the sugar daddy? And I feel like, I mean, we don't fucking know.
It's a case by case scenario.
We don't know, but I'm assuming a lot of the time when your motivation is financial, I mean, maybe you're reprogramming your brain to feel loved because you're getting, like, someone's taking care of you, or maybe, like, I assume a lot of these girls, they have like a boyfriend that's their age, that is probably more what they're looking for.
That was one of the saddest things I heard.
It's probably on the hush. I could hide out. I live off the grid.
Right? One of my coworkers, she told me, like, you know, she was getting on Seeking Arrangements, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, interesting, because she wasn't the girl that I expected.
Yeah.
You know, because she doesn't look like she pays $50K a year on her maintenance. And she goes, well, I'm gonna fuck most of these guys for free anyways. And I was like, oh man. I was like, she's like, so I might as well just get something out of it. And that really broke my heart, because on the flip side for her, she's just been destroyed so many times, where she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go say, hey, you know what, you want to take me out to a really nice dinner, and you know what, we might have protected sex afterwards, and then you're gonna give me an extra X amount of money.
Yeah, throw a couple dollars at a young lady to pay for books.
You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, and so there's so many different.
But I mean, yeah, and that's the thing is, like, who are we to even judge the person who pays this girl? Like, technically, she was gonna, like, here's the thing: if you decide I'm going to exchange pieces of me for whatever money, and then somebody else takes you up on that offer, they're probably like looking for love in some weird way, or they're looking for lust, or they're looking for something they're not getting either. You know what I mean? Like, so
exactly.
I think all is fair in love and war. You know,
and
what
hopefully
I mean?
This is a very short comment, but that was one of the things that really I agreed with Joe Rogan when he said this. Is he was really pissed off about a lot of those massage parlors getting busted, because he's like, men need to get their dicks touched.
Yeah.
He's like, so if a guy's just going to this shitty little massage parlor to get his dick rubbed versus going out and killing somebody because he's
raping a chick.
Like that one guy who has the bit about who gets guns, and it's like guys who aren't fucking don't get guns, basically. It's like, so
Not where I come from. Where I come from, you got a big machine gun, girls are just loving you. Where I come from, you got an AR, bitches swoon to them ARs. We're white trash.
Yeah, so I guess that's the whole thing. Like the point is you just got to be careful when you walk into something, you know, because you might go into and it's a whole changing people thing. You know, you can't expect to really change people. You can expect to make them better, you know, try to like lift them up and be there for them, but you just gotta, you know, take things one day at a time. And I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about original loves, old school loves. We talked about alternative loves.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to wrap it up with?
I think by now I can say that I'll be in Apple Valley on Saturday.
Will this be out by then?
Yeah, I think it's going to drop Monday, and then that following Saturday. What do you got?
This is going to drop when?
Monday.
Monday the
this
18th?
coming Monday. Correct.
So the 24th, this coming Sunday, I'm hosting in the Belly Room.
Sick. Ooh, I'm gonna go.
The Sunday after that, I'm hosting the Belly Room. December 22nd, I'm hosting the Belly Room. These are kind of student shows I host for someone, and they're fun little shows. They're high paced. Fun. It's a cool show.
So they're class shows, you said?
Yeah, they're half class show, half comedy store show, kind of.
Oh, sick.
It's a good time.
I remember. Is it from the LA stand-ups?
No. A lot of every school kind of does these.
Yeah.
But no, it's for Adam Barnhart. The show's called Clown. So he runs a really cool open mic downtown. If you haven't been, the Clown Room, Clown House.
I've been wanting
down on Pico. It's great. They used to do. I don't need to plug this. I know.
Yeah. That's exactly why I wanted to do it.
And then. Other things I'm working on. If you're in Vegas, I am co-producing a show at the Artisan Hotel. It's an old swingers hotel. I'm there every Monday. It's a lot. If you're in Monday, you want to catch a cool show, come on down to a swingers hotel. That's really what I'm working on.
Sick. Well, thanks, guys.
Oh, and if you want a comedy album recorded, if you're listening, you're a comedian, maybe DM me. Maybe slide up in my DMs.
Really?
That's all I'm plugging. Go ahead.
A whole comedy album. Huh?
A whole damn comedy album. Some of you aren't there yet, but if you are, when you're ready, let your boy know.
I love it. Well, that was so much fun, and I knew that you and I would be able to have a fun, happy hour together. So, thank you so much for all of your support, guys. Like, subscribe.